Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menyaksikan Niaga AWANI bersama saya Rozman dan sebentar saja lagi rakan tugas Najib Aroff bersama Nabilah Khaleeda akan sertai kami untuk segmen seterusnya. Dan Niaga pada kali ini kita akan mulakan dengan perkembangan di peringkat antarabangsa terutamanya di Asia. Presiden Korea Selatan Yoon Suk Yeol pada Rabu menarik balik pengisytiharan darurat ketenteraan yang diumumkannya beberapa jam sebelumnya selepas mendapat tentangan hebat daripada Parlimen. Pengumuman itu dibatalkan susulan pertikaian dengan ahli parlimen yang menolak bulat-bulat percubaannya untuk mengharamkan aktiviti politik dan menapis media.
Suk Yeol mengisytiharkan undang-undang tentera pada malam Selasa untuk menggagalkan pasukan anti negara di kalangan lawan politik dalam negerinya. Tetapi ahli parlimen yang marah menolak dekri itu dalam krisis politik terbesar Korea Selatan dalam beberapa dekad. Agensi berita Yonhap berkata Kabinet telah bersetuju awal Rabu untuk membatalkan undang-undang tentera. Mata wang won Korea Selatan pulih sedikit selepas Yun berundur dan 0.8% lebih rendah pada 1414.45 berbanding dolar. Penunjuk perasaan di luar Parlimen Dewan Negara menjerit dan bertepuk tangan. Ketua Parti Pembangkang Kecil Cho Kuk bertemu penunjuk perasaan di luar Parlimen dan berkata ini belum berakhir dan berikrar mahu mendakwa Suk Yeol dengan mengumpulkan undi parti lain. Pengisytiharan undang-undang tentera yang mengejut oleh Suk Yeol bertujuan untuk menyekat musuh politiknya ditolak sebulat suara oleh 190 ahli parlimen di Parlimen. Pihaknya sendiri mendesaknya untuk menarik balik dekri itu. Di bawah Undang-Undang Korea Selatan, Presiden mesti segera menarik balik undang-undang tentera jika Parlimen menuntutnya dengan undi majoriti. Krisis di negara yang mengamalkan demokrasi sejak 1980-an itu merupakan sekutu Amerika Syarikat dan ekonomi utama Asia telah menyebabkan kebimbangan antarabangsa.
존경하는 국민 여러분, 저는 어제 밤 11시를 기해 국가의 본질적 기능을 마비시키고 자유민주주의 헌정 질서를 붕괴시키려는 반국가 세력에 맞서 결연한 구국의 의지로 비상계엄을 선포하였습니다. 그러나 조금 전 국회의 계엄 해제 요구가 있어 계엄 사무에 투입된 군을 철수시켰습니다.
Beberapa kerosakan infrastruktur dilaporkan berlaku di bangunan Parlimen Korea Selatan pada awal pagi Rabu. Menurut media antarabangsa, insiden itu menyusul selepas pengumuman pengisytiharan undang-undang tentera dibuat Presiden Yoon Suk Yeol. Menerusi sebuah video, kejadian dilihat huru-hara apabila perabot bangunan Parlimen digunakan sebagai penghalang selain pemadam kebakaran yang diletakkan di lantai. Tindakan itu dilihat sebagai langkah berjaga-jaga dari sebarang kebarangkalian kekecohan yang tercetus. Antara lain, beberapa pintu di dalam bangunan itu turut dirosakkan.
Sementara itu, mata wang Korea Selatan won jatuh dengan ketara berbanding dolar Amerika pada Selasa, susulan pengisytiharan undang-undang tentera oleh Presiden Yoon Suk Yeol, lapor agensi berita Yonhap. Won Korea merosot tahap serendah 1,430 won setiap dolar dalam dagangan luar pesisir malam tadi selepas Suk Yeol membuat pengisytiharan itu dalam siaran langsung mengejut pada lewat malam dengan menuduh pihak pembangkang menguasai parlimen dan melumpuhkan kerajaan melalui aktiviti anti negara. Ia adalah paras terendah sejak 26 Oktober 2022 apabila mata wang tempatan itu jatuh kepada 1,432.4 won semasa dagangan dalam sesi harian. Dalam dagangan domestik, mata wang tempatan itu didagangkan pada kadar 1,402.9 won berbanding dolar Amerika Syarikat pada 3.30 petang, turun 1.6 won berbanding sesi sebelumnya.
Deklarasi Perintah Undang-Undang Darurat Tentera yang mengejutkan di Korea Selatan malam tadi telah menyebabkan ketidaktentuan di pasaran global. Selepas ditarik semula, ia membawa sedikit kelegaan kepada pelabur di tengah ketegangan geopolitik yang melanda rantau itu. Reuters, keputusan Presiden Yoon Suk Yeol untuk mengisytiharkan darurat tentera bertujuan untuk menghalang usaha parti pembangkang daripada menguasai proses parlimen. Namun selepas tekanan daripada Parlimen, beliau menarik semula keputusan tersebut sekaligus mengurangkan ketidaktentuan pasaran. Langkah ini mendapat perhatian dunia terutama memandangkan peranan Korea Selatan sebagai salah satu pasaran utama dalam sektor teknologi dan inovasi. Pasaran saham Amerika Syarikat seperti S&P 500 dan Nasdaq mencatat rekod penutupan tertinggi walaupun pergerakan keseluruhan agak terbatas sepanjang sesi. Sementara saham global turut menunjukkan pemulihan sederhana. Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif di AXX Investment, Greg Besuk, menyatakan bahawa perkembangan ini bersama-sama dengan situasi politik di Perancis dan keputusan pilihan raya Presiden Amerika Syarikat mencetuskan ketidaktentuan di kalangan pelabur ketika mereka merancang strategi menjelang 2025. Pasaran tempatan di Korea Selatan menerima tekanan tinggi tetapi penarikan balik darurat tentera membantu mengurangkan kejatuhan. Fokus kini beralih kepada usaha berterusan negara tersebut dalam mengekalkan kestabilan politik dan ekonominya. Pada masa sama, isu-isu global lain turut mencuri tumpuan, termasuk ketegangan di Timur Tengah yang mempengaruhi harga minyak mentah. Pelabur di Korea Selatan terus berhati-hati sambil memberi perhatian kepada perkembangan OPEC+. Korea Selatan dengan statusnya sebagai salah satu pemain utama di Asia jadikan kestabilannya sebagai elemen penting dalam lanskap ekonomi global yang semakin dinamik. Korea Selatan dengan statusnya sebagai salah satu pemain utama di Asia menjadikan kestabilannya sebagai elemen penting dalam lanskap ekonomi global yang semakin dinamik. Baik, apabila kita bercakap mengenai perkembangan di Korea Selatan, sudah tentu kita ingin meneliti lebih dalam bagaimanakah situasi setakat ini mengambil kira konteks pergerakan mata wang won iaitu South Korea won, termasuk juga dengan prestasi Korea Selatan, Korea Index. Untuk kita saksikan pertama sekali, di mana kalau kita lihat pada Selasa malam, terdapat pengumuman yang telah mengejutkan oleh Presiden Korea Selatan oleh Yoon Suk-yeol yang telah mengumumkan bahawa ia mengisytiharkan perintah undang-undang tertera pada Selasa malam itu, perintah undang tertera, dan ini telah mengejutkan rakyat dan negara Korea Selatan sendiri. Dan sudah tentu kita lihat bukan saja ia telah mempengaruhi dan menjejaskan iaitu sentimen pelabur di Korea Selatan, tetapi ia juga mempengaruhi dan menjejas juga prestasi pergerakan mata wang tempatan, termasuk juga dengan prestasi pasaran tempatan Korea Selatan itu sendiri. Dan sudah tentu banyak reaksi daripada pengumuman itu, kerana kita dilihat pengumuman yang mengejutkan itu kerana ia telah diumumkan di negara Asia itu selepas hampir 50 tahun selepas Korea Selatan menjadi sebuah negara demokrasi yang berparlimen pada 1987, dan kali terakhir ia telah diumumkan semasa iaitu diktator tentera jangka panjang Park Chung-hee yang telah dibunuh semasa rampasan kuasa pada tahun 1979, yang telah mendorong Korea Selatan untuk mengumumkan undang-undang tentera pada ketika itu, dan ia tidak diumumkan selepas itu, dan selepas 50 tahun ia telah diumumkan semula. Namun kalau kita lihat daripada pengumuman tersebut, kita meneliti bagaimanakah prestasi iaitu terutama mata wang won, South Korea won berbanding USD setakat ini, kalau kita saksikan ia telah mencapai antara paras yang terendah dalam tempoh setahun kalau boleh kita saksikan. Kalau kita nak lihat prestasi nilai mata wang South Korea selepas pengumuman, ia telah melemah ataupun merosot pada tahap yang terendah sehingga mencapai pada 1416.66, dan ini adalah prestasi won, mata wang won berbanding dengan 1 USD setakat ini. Dan kita dapat saksikan daripada pengumuman yang telah diumumkan oleh Presiden Korea Selatan telah mempengaruhi sebahagian besar pergerakan mata wang. Ia dilihat semakin lemah, di mana pelabur-pelabur sentimen pun kurang yakin, dan kita lihat ketidaktentuan di peringkat pasaran antarabangsa. Dan kalau kita lihat dalam tempoh setahun, ini adalah prestasi yang terburuk pergerakan mata wang Korea Selatan, iaitu wang yang dapat kita saksikan berbanding USD pada minggu ini. Dan sudah tentu selepas pengumuman pada malam tadi, kita lihat pagi pada waktu 12.20 pagi di waktu Korea, kita lihat mula kukuh semula selepas Parlimen mengundi untuk menarik semula perintah undang-undang tentera ini dengan kehadiran Parlimen 190 daripada 300 yang telah menentang untuk menolak perintah undang-undang tentera ini, dan dianggap iaitu perisytiharan oleh Presiden Korea Selatan itu tidak sah. Dan pada 4 pagi tadi perintah undang-undang tentera secara rasmi itu ditarik balik, dan kita lihat selepas pengumuman ataupun kita lihat cadangan itu ditarik balik, kita dapat saksikan sedikit pemulihan di mata mata wang tempatan oleh Korea Selatan yang telah mengukuh ataupun kembali pulih semula, dan kita lihat iaitu prestasi di pasaran global juga mengalami pemulihan yang agak sederhana. Dan apa yang boleh saya rangkumkan daripada prestasi ini, ia dilihat nilai mata wang ni adalah antara yang terburuk yang telah dicatatkan dalam tempoh setahun, dan kita lihat perintah itu ditentang oleh 190 ahli Parlimen Korea Selatan yang telah hadir daripada 300 itu, dan ini jelas menunjukkan pasaran ataupun pergerakan mata wang won Korea Selatan menjadi tumpuan dunia ketika ini, kerana kita tahu ia juga akan mengambil kira apakah usaha langkah seterusnya akan diambilkan oleh Korea Selatan untuk mengukuhkan mata wang negara mereka, yang kita tahu dilihat Korea Selatan kerana ia menjadi antara pasaran utama apabila kita cakap mengenai bidang teknologi dan juga inovasi, dan kerana itu juga dunia melihat dan memberi perhatian kepada pergerakan mata wang ringgit Korea Selatan, dan sekaligus kita akan lihat juga bagaimanakah Korea Composite Stock Price Index, iaitu KOSPI, bagaimana indeks harga saham komposit Korea Selatan. Kalau kita lihat di sini menunjukkan prestasi pasaran Korea Selatan, kalau kita lihat daripada pasaran KOSPI ketika ini adalah prestasi pasaran Korea Selatan, dan dalam tempoh setahun prestasi pasaran dilihat di sini ia telah mengalami pada prestasi 2453.39. Ini adalah prestasi yang dapat kita saksikan setakat ini, dan kita lihat walaupun prestasi pasaran dilihat menurun, namun ia kembali kukuh selepas penarikan ataupun pembatalan undang-undang tentera di Korea Selatan. Kita lihat indeks kopi Korea Selatan mengalami penurunan ketara sebanyak 1.97%, iaitu 2,440 mata pada pembukaan pagi ini, dan ketika dagangan ditutup pada Selasa ia berada paras 2,500 mata. Dan dilihat ia susulan pengisytiharan undang-undang tentera tergempar oleh Presiden Korea Selatan Yoon Suk Yeol lewat malam tadi, dan kemudiannya ditarik semula 6 jam kemudian, dan perintah undang-undang tentera secara tiba-tiba dan pembatalannya nampaknya telah menimbulkan kebimbangan di kalangan pelabur, menyumbang kepada kemerosotan awal pasaran, dan keputusan untuk mengisytiharkan undang-undang tentera dilaporkan sebagai tindak balas kepada ketegangan yang semakin memuncak, walaupun butiran khusus mengenai situasi itu masih tidak didedahkan, dan penyelesaian pantas status undang-undang tentera telah memberikan sedikit kelegaan, tetapi reaksi awal pasaran mencerminkan ketidaktentuan dan kebimbangan dalam kalangan peniaga dan pelabur, dan penganalisis pasaran memantau dengan teliti keadaan kerana prestasi indeks KOSPI sering dilihat sebagai pengukur kestabilan ekonomi Korea Selatan, dan juga merupakan antara pasaran utama di Asia yang mendahului ataupun menerajui bidang ataupun sektor teknologi dan juga inovasi, dan tindakan kerajaan dan kesannya terhadap keyakinan pelabur mungkin akan mempengaruhi arah aliran pasaran dalam beberapa hari akan datang. Dan sudah tentu ini adalah tumpuan yang dapat saya rumuskan melihat bagaimanakah pergerakan ataupun prestasi pasaran saham Korea Selatan ketika ini pasca pengumuman pengisytiharan undang-undang tentera yang diumumkan oleh Presiden Korea Selatan, namun ditarik semula selepas mendapat pengundian tidak setuju terhadap daripada 190 ahli parlimen daripada 300 ini. Dan sudah tentu akhir sekali untuk kita lihat bagaimanakah langkah ataupun yang diambil oleh kerajaan Korea Selatan selepas ini akan memberi kesan kepada negara-negara membangun seperti Malaysia sendiri selepas ini. Jangan ke mana-mana, kita akan teruskan dengan laporan korporat, dan selepas ini kita akan bawakan bagaimanakah prestasi peringkat di pasaran Asia. Pendapatan saham Dabi Property Berhad diramal melonjak menjelang 2027 didorong sumbangan daripada kadar sewaan pusat datanya, kata penganalisis. RHB Investment menjangkakan 2 projek pusat data kumpulan untuk Pearl Computing Malaysia akan membawa 380 juta ringgit dalam pendapatan sewa setahun, diterjemahkan kepada 170 juta ringgit hingga 180 juta ringgit dalam keuntungan bersih tahunan. Grab Malaysia berjaya merancangkan perkembangan ekonomi Johor apabila komuniti rakan Grab di negeri itu menjana pendapatan melebihi 500 juta ringgit pada tahun lalu sahaja. Malah sejak dilancarkan di Johor pada 2013, Grab Malaysia telah menyediakan peluang pendapatan melalui platform berasaskan penyelesaian teknologi kepada hampir 100,000 rakan Grab, termasuk lebih 400 orang kurang upaya OKU dan lebih 300,000 wanita, sekaligus menyalahkan sumbangan besar syarikat berkenaan terhadap ekonomi negeri. CIMB Bank Berhad dan CIMB Islamic Bank Berhad melancarkan kad debit Visa CIMB khusus untuk memperkasakan kanak-kanak palsi cerebral serta mengukuhkan lagi komitmen bank untuk mewujudkan impak positif sosial kepada komuniti. Setiap keluaran kad debit itu akan disalurkan kepada gabungan anak-anak palsi cerebral badan bukan kerajaan NGO yang memperkasakan kanak-kanak palsi cerebral dengan menyediakan peralatan rehabilitasi dan program pemekasaan. Laporan penuh di saluran 501 dan astroawani.com serta dagannews.com. Baik, walaupun kita sudah meneliti bagaimanakah daya tahan pasaran Korea Selatan selepas pengumuman pengisytiharan undang-undang tentera di sini di Korea Selatan yang telah mengejutkan rakyatnya sendiri, ia adalah pengumuman yang telah dibuat setelah hampir 50 tahun sejak diumumkan pada tahun 1979 oleh tentera jangka panjang didikta oleh Park Chun-hee, dan selepas itu tidak diumumkan sejaklah 1987 selepas Korea Selatan menjadi negara demokrasi berparlimen. Dan sudah tentu apa yang pasti kita sudah ingin mempelajari daripada apa yang berlaku di Korea Selatan. Namun kali ini saya akan teruskan bagaimana untuk kita meliti secara keseluruhan pada skala lebih besar, iaitu secara keseluruhan prestasi pasaran saham yang kita boleh panggil iaitu indeks Asia Dow Index Jones. Kalau boleh kita saksikan di sini. Pertama sekali, kalau boleh saya kongsikan melihat kepada pasaran Asia ketika ini, ia telah mengalami pada penurunan sebanyak 4,213.72. Ini adalah prestasi setakat 3 Disember 2024 pada 8.20 malam EST, dan kita lihat penurunan sebanyak 21.68 bersamaan dengan negatif 0.51%. Namun kalau kita nak lihat bagaimanakah prestasi Asia Dow Index USD dalam tempoh 5 hari setakat seminggu, iaitu ia telah mengalami performance ataupun prestasi yang meningkat apabila kita lihat peningkatan yang agak positif dalam tempoh 5 hari ini daripada Khamis lepas. Untuk kita saksikan antara julat ataupun range pergerakan Asia Dow Index USD dalam tempoh 5 hari, ia bergerak daripada 4,150.63. Ini adalah range, sehingga antara yang tertinggi ia telah direkodkan dalam tempoh 5 hari pada 4,236.32, dan ini juga merupakan jumlah pergerakan Asia Dow Index yang dapat kita lihat dalam tempoh 5 hari, tempoh terdekat. Dan sudah tentu selain itu, untuk kita lihat bagaimanakah indeks-indeks utama di pasaran Asia sendiri. Di sini kalau kita lihat kebanyakannya mengalami peningkatan apabila melihat angka ini mengalami iaitu mewarnai warna hijau menunjukkan peningkatan positif. Namun Nikkei 225 Index ini mengalami penurunan sebanyak 0.19%, penurunan 74.54. Namun Hang Seng Index, Shanghai Composite Index, termasuk juga dengan BSE Shenzhen Index dan tidak ketinggalan FTSE Straits Times Index, kedua-duanya mengalami peningkatan daripada segi nilai indeksnya ketika ini. Namun S&P ASX 200 Benchmark Index ini adalah antara indeks utama Asia yang mengalami penurunan sebanyak 0.45%. Dan sekaligus kita melihat secara keseluruhan bagaimanakah prestasi pasaran Asia setakat ini, melihat kepada Asia Dow Index USD dan antara indeks-indeks utama prestasi dan pergerakannya setakat minggu pertama Disember, iaitu ataupun kita boleh cakap minggu pertama Disember 2024. Sudah tentu ini adalah menjadi perhatian para pelabur untuk kita teliti bagaimanakah arus aliran pasaran saham selepas ini dalam tempoh terdekat dan melihat kepada prestasi pada hujung tahun ini sudah tentu. Dan selepas ini kita akan teruskan dengan perkembangan seterusnya, di mana kalau kita lihat setiap perkembangan ataupun perkongsian mengenai mata wang ringgit Malaysia di peringkat tempatan dan juga bagaimanakah prestasi di peringkat global juga. Dengan baru-baru ini kita melihat melihat pergerakan mata wang dan juga prestasi pasaran Korea Selatan. Dan sudah tentu kami akan rangkumkan dalam astroawani.com dan di semua platform digital Astro Awani. Baik, saya akan teruskan dengan perkembangan seterusnya di mana siapa sangka hospital dan sekolah antara premis yang banyak berdepan cubaan untuk digodam bagi mendapatkan data pendua. Dan itu pendedahan Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kohesti Sanjay Punan di AWS Reinvent 2024. Editor kanan Astro Awani Najib Aroff bertemu Sanjay untuk melihat trend ini dan bagaimanakah kecerdasan buatan AI berkesan dalam menangkis serangan cyber.
Okey, di AWS Reinvent 2024 ini ada banyak perkara yang kita bincangkan, khususnya bukan saja soal generative AI dan juga cloud computing, tapi juga kita bercakap soal keselamatan data juga. Itu yang saya bawakan untuk berbual pada kali ini. Sangat menarik. Saya bersama dengan CEO Kohesti sendiri, Sanjay Punan. Kita akan bercakap soal cyber resilience dan juga AI driven data security. Sanjay, thank you so much for once again joining us.
Thank you. Great to see you again.
Yeah. All right. First of all, let's talk about common gaps in data security strategies, if you may, from your experience and Kohesti as well. What are the most common gaps or oversights, organizations face in their data security strategies?
I think first off, everyone has to realize that right now this topic has to be thought of as both an infrastructure and a security topic, as opposed to in the past people may have focused just on storage and security. I mean, right now I have many boards of directors who know what the term immutability means. They're often regulators who are looking at things like cyber vaulting, air gap. So understanding a comprehensive view of what your cyber resilience strategy should be, because your data is relentlessly under attack, especially secondary data, backup data from nation state actors. So that's number one. I think the second is once you've got a comprehensive security strategy, to also have an AI strategy by which you can get insights into that data. Yeah. So I think security and AI are top two topics that every IT executive and every boardroom is concerned about. And, fortunately at Kohesti, we play at the center of both of those.
Yeah. Before we deep dive into the AI and also the usage of AI and also other technology to see all these security threats, are there specific industries or type of business particularly vulnerable to any of these gaps and also threats?
What we're finding is that the more data that you collect and the more your retention policies are, and the bigger your brand, the more you're likely going to get attacked. Okay, those are kind of like those are the watch signs. So in the United States, we see a lot of hospitals getting attacked relentlessly, schools, because these are just places where the nation-state actors are just trying to get a PR article that they have hurt somebody and then try to get money out. That's like it's malicious. So, but the banks have a lot of data, telcos have a lot of data, and public sector companies have a lot of data. Many of them have built defenses that are very strong. So in some senses, you haven't seen big attacks recently on some major banks because they spend a lot on security. Some of the most recent attacks have been in manufacturing companies, have been in school districts, and a lot in hospitals, because patient data is, one there, once they want to drive fear. It's a little bit like, terrorist attacks are in the world of physical terrorism. It's just to drive fear. So when you feel like your kids' grades or so on and so forth could be infiltrated by the bad guys, it's not that there's financial outcome, there's just embarrassment, right? Same thing with medical records and others. In some cases, that might be financial outcomes, and also infrastructure protecting physical assets. For example, in the United States, we have a lot of focus on physical infrastructure of security, of utilities, any of the big power plants, especially now that many of these systems are on IoT devices where you could infiltrate them through the internet. So I'd say, listen, we have to take a comprehensive view of all infrastructure across majority of industries, but the more data you collect, the bigger your brand is, the more you are a candidate for an attack.
Right. But how do this manifest in terms of financial and operational, and also the reputational risks for these companies?
We've studied every cyber attack that's happened in the last major ones. I mean, there's about 200 ransomware attempts every second.
Wow.
But if you look at the major ones that have had impact, these are you should think about ransomware attacks and these cyber attacks like drones, right? You're trying to attack and then one of them might land. But we've looked at all of them, and typically what ends up happening is that they are trying to infiltrate through some, internal coordinated person who's, malicious, or someone who's made a stupid mistake. Yeah. Usually it's multi-factor authentication. There's some basic rules of cyber hygiene that we believe people need to implement. Multi-factor authentication, encryption of data, segmentation of your applications. In fact, when I was at VMware running security, I wrote a paper on the 5 rules of cyber hygiene. So those things are very, very important. And obviously, in many cases, people come in and attack based on, some basic missing elements of cyber hygiene, most often multi-factor authentication. Once they're in, they want to be able to get to a system that has a lot of data to either corrupt it or exfiltrate data from it, and then hold that data as ransom until you pay in Bitcoin or whatever have you, right? That's how these techniques usually work. And in industries that have been attacked, the time to recover the data is so long that they pay the ransom in many cases. Wow. What we are an expert in is making sure the speed of cyber recovery of your data could be fast. And Cohesity can't, we're not in the detection and prevention business. We can help with that, but we're in the recovery, remediation business. And we almost tell many of our clients, assume that you are getting attacked, and we can guarantee the fastest cyber recovery of any platform, because we've built a platform that's the fastest, its speed, its scale, its depth of security, second to none.
Yeah. Sanjay, I want to talk about that later, but I just want to share some personal experience, because I always receive this email, click this link, or it's something that relatable to me, right? So I feel tempted to click the link, but it is not from the company itself, right? So it's sort of cyber security as well. But how can organizations better, educate their teams in terms of recognizing and mitigate risks in data handling, also cyber security?
Certainly, I would say if you get a link from somebody you don't know, don't click the link. And if you're worried, forward that email to your cybersecurity department to say, is this a phishing attack? Is this a spam attack from somebody? And they should be able to detect. Okay? I get, as CEO of the company, I get a lot of spam emails, sometimes with links. And if I'm not sure about the person, I forward it to my IT team and say, hey, tell me this is legit or not. And it's a good idea to do it. On your personal account, I just be very careful, because, if you have personal data, they're trying to get to your personal data. Just assume that there's a concept in security called zero trust, which means don't trust anybody, okay? And assume anybody could be, if you get an email from Sanjay Poonen, don't assume it's me, okay? It could be me, it may be somebody else who's using my name. And in fact, if you look at the email behind the name, you can fake somebody's name. It may not even be my email at cohesity.com. Now, if it's coming from spoonen or sanjay.poonen@cohesity.com, it's coming from me. Clearly, you can assume that. And you should never send money, okay, over the internet except from a trusted source. Never go to a website that doesn't have two-factor authentication. Never give out your social security number. These are just practical things that people should all avoid as you build a identity of trust, because you have to assume that there's a number of ways by people are trying to get at your. I would make really clear, if your financial data, certainly of the company or personal, you've got it completely secured behind two-factor authentication and a variety of techniques that don't allow you to just basically go to some random website. Yeah.
Sanjay, last year you mentioned about how AI is a game changer in terms of cybersecurity. Maybe you can share with us and the audience of Niaga AWANI, what are the key challenges in integrating AI into existing data management systems?
Yeah, since we last talked, we've had a lot of updates at Cohesity. Now NVIDIA chose to invest in us as a company. We're the only company in our space that NVIDIA is investing in. Jensen personally talked about us at the GTC conference in March. We're doing a lot of things with NVIDIA. So they basically have asked us to build a lot of our AI on top of that platform, which we love. Because not just do they have a GPU stack, but they have an enterprise AI platform. It saves us a lot of work of having to build it on a multi-cloud if we can build it once to NVIDIA. So we're big fans of their work. But AI has two purposes. One is a lot of the security algorithms that we built are based on artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. For ransomware detection, anomaly detection, classification of data, a lot of those things are AI and ML algorithms. But the other part of it is once the data is secure, you can actually use retrieval augmented generation, which is a form of AI, a generative AI, to extract value out of your documents in a very fast fashion and do a ChatGPT or kind of a OpenAI Copilot kind of query in that. So here's the example. Imagine at a large bank or any company you have 10 million PDFs with unstructured data of all your contracts with vendors. And you want to summarize all the contract terms you've gotten from those vendors. You could use our product called Gaia to write a Copilot or a ChatGPT type search. It goes directly to our backup and summarizes the results it gets back and saves you a lot of time of not having to go and find all those documents. That's what we've cracked with Gaia, built on top of NVIDIA. So we're very excited about that, and there's many, many use cases for both security, detecting malware inside the data, that's what we use, or for searching and summarizing. Both of these are very good use cases of AI.
So as AI becomes more integrated into the cybersecurity, but how do you see the balance evolving between human expertise and also machine learning capabilities?
I think there's always, it's like any other tool that can hopefully improve productivity. If you look at the word processor, spell check made our writing better. Grammar check makes our writing better. Does it displace people who write? No, it makes them better. So I think that AI is going to help our world become more productive, and we're going to be in a place where many of our works, the jobs that we have to do that are very manual, get more productive. So in the query that I gave, if a lot of that searching and analyzing documents was being done by interns, you probably don't have to hire as many of them, and you can have those people do more productive kinds of things. So we're always looking at AI as ways by which we can be kept safer and can also be made smarter.
Sanjay, I want to ask, are there risks of over-reliance on AI, such as reduced human oversight or potential algorithm biases in threat detection for the company who actually uses AI for their cybersecurity?
I think, listen, at the end of the day, today I'm not worried about over-reliance on that, except for places where you're getting false positives, where you think that there's issue and it's really a false positive, right? It's like the story that somebody was always saying wolf, 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 and there wasn't really a wolf. And one day when there was really a wolf, no one believed that. So in similar fashion, you want to be able to reduce the amount of false positives, because if you're constantly having to react to an alarm bell, oh my gosh, there's an emergency and it isn't, you start to get your guard down. So I think in any kind of automated system or in any AI system, you have to reduce the number of false positives and make sure that the actual noise from the signal, you reduce the signal to noise ratio. So I think that what we want to be able to do is allow these learning algorithms to get better and better at being able to give us the true signal of what's happening with an anomaly in data or in searching for some sense out of data. And I mean, that's part of the reason we're here at reInvent, because there's so many customers, so many use cases, and Amazon themselves, like NVIDIA, has been an incredible partner to us.
My last question is, looking at the current trajectory, what are the key data security trends you foresee shaping the business technology landscape in 2024 and also 2025?
I think, listen, first off, I think going into 2025, every company is going to have to build a resilience strategy for, asking themselves, if we get hit by a major cyber attack, how quickly can we recover? Right? And we're delighted at Cohesity now, as we know we're going to be the lead player in this space, because we are acquiring Veritas, and together we will be number one in this space. So as we do this together, this is going to be the place where most companies are going to come to us for that answer. And I think every organization needs to build a speed of cyber recovery answer. That's super important. Number two, they need to make sure that they have a view of all their data in a place by which they can easily search and summarize and analyze that. That's where AI can be built helpful. And number three, I think you need to build a set of processes and sort of people skills to constantly upgrade your talent to take advantage of these tools as opposed to viewing these tools as threats in a very safe manner. We call this responsible AI, right? We need to make sure that AI is used in a responsible fashion. It isn't being used in a way where it's abusing trust. And that's also something that requires society to be very watchful as to how these technologies are being used. And I think I'm very hopeful. I'm an optimist when it comes to the use of technology. I've always wanted to grab technology on the forefront of it, and I'm optimistic that the future will be very bright if we use these technologies in a productive fashion.
Double-edged sword. Thank you so much, Sanjay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you.
Terus Sanjay tadi kita bercakap soal teknologi itu kan sentiasa ada berubah dan juga semakin maju, tapi bagaimana kita lihat cyber security ini ada penyelesaiannya, dan paling penting adalah AI itu sebagai penyelesaian kepada cyber security yang kita hadapi pada ketika ini. Sekian saja laporan saya untuk Niaga AWANI.
Bila kerja sendiri, semua kena buat sendiri. Tapi, bersama rakan niaga, semuanya dapat ditempuhi bersama.
Nak coklat? Hari ni tak boleh. Nanti saya kena dengan mak saya.
Pepsodent baharu disahkan halal. Microkalsium aktif dan Proflorida Complex membantu memperbaiki lubang halus akibat makanan manis sebelum menjadi kaviti untuk pelindungan maksimum. Pepsodent. Astro's Big Thank You. Nikmati sehingga 17 saluran dan filem serta rasai pengalaman bersama Astro Box baharu secara percuma. Ketahui lebih lanjut di aplikasi My Astro.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Majistret Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Kau kena ingat, Cik. Kita ni anak ayuh. Nak tak say, semangat ayuh tu kuat dah mengalir dalam diri kita. Tak hari ni, kena tu tepat kau sendiri.
Cuci tangan dah. Jangan sikit abu tak ada tanda.
Alright, thank you for tuning in on Niaga AWANI with me, Nabilah, Khaleeda. And right now we're in the conversation of with the writer's guest that we're going to talk about on sustainability and also socio-economic growth in focus. And this conversation, we'll be talking about the association of 50-year journey, which highlights their commitment to social inclusion as well as enriching lives and also fostering sustainable future using real-world examples during COVID to illustrate their positive socio-economic change. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Dr. Aminah Joseta Kayani, the Executive Director of ABM, or the Association of Banks in Malaysia. Thank you so much for your time and for being here with me on Niaga AWANI. And perhaps to start, firstly, Dr. Aminah, maybe you can share on how we can go back 50 years. How is this ABM or association actually give some of the most impactful milestones that demonstrate the association's commitment to social inclusion and also sustainability at the same time?
Okay, thank you. And first of all, welcome to ABM. So the Association of Banks, we have been evolving with the country, with Malaysia, and we have been at the cornerstone of the progress and development of the country. There are multiple milestones that I can speak about, but really what I really speak about today in line with the sustainability agenda is about how ABM has been supporting the growth of the nation building, so to speak, through its member banks. And one biggest milestone that I like to speak about is agent banking. Agent banking is really having access to financial services to the rural folks through convenience stores, through post offices, whereby people in the kampung, they can actually go and do simple things like withdrawals, deposits, bill payments, even micro loans and credit options for them, for the SMEs. They can do it not at the bank, they can do it at agents. So that's why it's called agent bank. I really would like to speak about the numbers that's around. That is almost over 8,000 right now, agent banks across the nation. So with these opportunities for the people in the rural areas, they can actually carry on with their lives and not be totally left behind. You know, having said that, of course, there are certain services that are not availed through agent banks, and you can only get it at the proper bank branches. There are other great milestones that ABM has actually witnessed throughout the 50 years. Among others, there would be the digital transformation and transiting customers into the digital banking journey. And of course, that was accelerated because of the pandemic, and a lot of things went cashless. People were forced, and it was a silver lining of the pandemic. Other milestones I would say would be the push for the member banks to actually go with supporting the green financing, and we have seen approximately over 10 billion, in renewable projects, funding for sustainable finance go into those lines.
And within that 50 years, I can say that ABM has achieved a lot of things and helped in a lot of aspects as well, and that includes sustainability and at the same time social inclusion. But can we throw back towards during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, many organizations has faced a lot of challenges. So maybe Dr. Amina, can you share specific examples of how the association or ABM supported these communities or has implemented initiatives that actually fostered positive socio-economic change during this tough period?
Yeah, the pandemic was really a wake-up call for most of Malaysians, and in fact for everyone around the world. I'm sure the journey was very difficult for everyone, and not one nation felt happy about the whole experience. In Malaysia, ABM really stepped up as the safety net. So the member banks were essentially the safety net for millions of Malaysians out there. Take the moratorium, for example. The member banks actually went on to give a 6-month moratorium, loan moratorium, which meant that the 8.3 million borrowers in Malaysia had some break from actually paying their loans for 6 months. That actually impacted their lives, because the thing is, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to see ends meet, and it impacted their livelihoods. There are other support given during that time by the member banks, and essentially those were like partnerships with the government projects and programs, which is the Penjana and Prihatin. SMEs actually benefited from targeted financing schemes through Penjana and Prihatin, and besides that, as I mentioned before, the silver lining through the pandemic was really the acceleration of bringing on the customers into the online banking journey, which we can see today. There are just like almost 80% of people who are very comfortable with the online banking experience.
And we are very grateful for that with the help of ABM. But before we go any further, Doctor, perhaps in your point of view or in your opinion, how do you define social inclusion, and what steps have been taken over the years to ensure that everyone, especially the marginalized groups, benefits from your program that you mentioned earlier? And at the same time, can you also elaborate on these various groups, maybe in specific?
Yep. Now, social inclusivity is pretty much about not letting anyone be left behind in the journey of developing themselves, availing themselves opportunity and empowering themselves with a better life economically and socially. So we're looking at marginalized communities especially, and even looking at B40s, looking at persons with disabilities, non-citizen spouses, people in the rural areas, low-income earners, regardless of gender, regardless of generation. So the essence of social inclusivity is availing opportunity for all as much as possible. Now the products and services and the way these products and services get to the people matters. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It really depends on their persona, the criteria, and the kind of things that they would need in order to empower themselves in their lives. So essentially, if I want to divide the elements which make up social inclusivity, let's look at 4. First and foremost, there's equitable access. So when we talk about equitable access, is recognizing the fact that people from the kampongs and the rural areas, the ones who are financially illiterate, the ones who are digitally illiterate, understanding their concerns and getting the opportunities out there so that they can access the services and products. Second, there would be empowerment and opportunity. In this sense, there comes the essence of going for, training and development so that they are empowered with the knowledge and with the know-how of how to use these, facilities available to them to empower themselves better. The third tenet for financial inclusivity is addressing barriers. So knowing that some people out there in the rural areas are very, very geographically dispersed, and understanding the barriers that would actually be in place to get the products and services to them, we are looking at, examples like agent banking just now. And even the digital options. So online banking is definitely one of the best ways to overcome that barrier. And the fourth element for social inclusivity would be fostering equality. And here we are looking at items like, housing loans, affordable housing loans, which is something very important, especially for generations like yourselves. Because the prices are crazy, right? The prices of houses today, I mean, like, how are people going to start off with their lives when everything is beyond reach? And so, so looking at those 4 tenets of social inclusivity, ABM is pushing for understanding the needs, so the problems are clear and the alternatives and options are available to the people.
All right, amazing. And that's on social inclusion. Thank you for explaining. But let's move on. Let's talk about sustainability now. And it's a major focus today. And I mean, locally, we have NETR, New Energy Transition Roadmap. And internationally, we have SDG and all that ESG framework. But looking at this association for ABM, maybe could you explain how the association has integrated sustainable practices into its work and why this has become the priority right now?
At ABM, we have been integrating sustainable practices into our daily operations and initiatives by paying a close attention to the ESG principles, so essentially environment, social and governance. With the examples for environment sustainable practices, it includes promoting green financing, where ABM member banks support renewable energy projects. Collectively, we have issued more than 7 billion in ASEAN sustainability bonds, reinforcing Malaysia's shift towards low carbon economy. So in 2022, ABM actually launched the ESG principles. There are 7 of them. And the reason for that was to help guide member banks in promoting carbon net zero goals across businesses and customer portfolios. Now looking at the S, in terms of social sustainability. You see, it's not all about the environment. We have to also remember there's an S and there's a G, right?
We often forget about this too.
Correct.
It's always the E, right?
It's always the E. So unfortunately, when we talk about social inclusivity, it's about the S as well, especially. So with social sustainability, we're really working hard towards promoting financial inclusion. And here, the ABM member banks are very, very committed to working closely with other organizations called FINCO, that's FINCO, and there's a network called FEN, Financial Education Network, and that's together with Bank Negara and Security Commission. And what we do is we collaborate with them and we push for the financial literacy agenda, the awareness to make and empower the people so that they are able to protect themselves and they are able to actually seize of opportunity to get better livelihoods. So that's with the social sustainability. And then with the G, of course, governance sustainability, here the ABM member banks are very committed towards pushing with the ethical guidelines and principles in terms of how the banks operate. You know, one thing about ABM is that we are also very driven in terms of our engagement with our stakeholders, the regulators, Bank Negara, Security Commission, the other stakeholders, and the other member banks and the public in general. So yeah, basically that's how we actually push for the sustainability agenda.
So and that brings me to the next question on the collaboration efforts. So what role do collaboration efforts play in achieving the association goals, ABM goals, in between for socio-economic growth and at the same time sustainability as well? And could you share any success stories that has happened throughout programs or any initiatives of ABM?
Yeah. Collaboration is something very close to the heart of ABM and my heart especially. I'm a person who believes that when we want to do something, it is really, really important that we join hands and do it together with others. And essentially it's pretty much the what they call it, core of what we call the all of nation approach. So at ABM, collaboration spells out a lot of what we do. Communication is key, collaboration is key too. Some examples that I can share here is the UNGC collaboration that we have to actually empower SMEs out there in terms of supporting them in adopting the sustainability principles. There are other collaborations that really, what do you call it, drive what we do here. And besides collaboration with Bank Negara, PNET, in developing a lot of, I would say, policy influencing. So that's what we do. We actually liaise with the regulators and we solicit feedback so that, you know, initiatives are industry informed, and also we help with the regulators to shape policy that makes an impact that is required. Bank Negara has been very, very proactive at getting and soliciting feedback with the industry, and that's essentially the way forward with a lot of development within the banking industry. So examples that I could give is the National Fraud Portal, where it was developed alongside PNET, Bank Negara, and the member banks. And what we see with the National Fraud Portal, it was a collaboration across PDRM and also MCMC and the telcos, as well as other associations. So we've got IBIM and we've got other associations like MIPA and ADFIM as well. There is this campaign that ABM is really active with, and we do it alongside IBIM, the Islamic Association for Banks, and it's called the Jangan Kena Scam campaign. And with this, together, collectively, ABM and IBIM, we go out there, we have outreach programs, and we build awareness and defense mechanisms within the public, within the different areas where we actually make our presence there, to build up on the ability and the resilience of the public to protect themselves against fraud and scams.
And I honestly think it works. I've seen the ads, the Jangan Kena Scam ads on TV, on billboards as well, I think.
Yes.
So actually it works, and it actually helps all the, basically all the internet users to be careful when using the this digital technology. So, and that brings to my next question as well. So the ABM has done their part, the government has done their part, Bank Negara has done their part. So I think these can be involved by the society as well. So for the viewers watching today, so how can they can get involved or support the association's mission of building a more inclusive and also sustainable society at the same time?
Okay, so picking up on the Jangan Kena Scam campaign, I would say come and join us. You know, we are present at a lot of geographic locations across the country. This year alone, we were present in, the ones I can remember is Penang, we were present in Terengganu, in Sarawak, and we will be going to Sabah next month. So at different platforms, so Jom Hebo, we have been present at Carnival Celik Kewangan by Bank Negara. And so the team, especially led by the committee, the communications working group under ABM, is very, very active. So come and join us. We have lots of activities to engage the public, and it is definitely really worthwhile to spend their time. You know, on a more serious note, perhaps the viewers out there, the public, could actually look into more sustainable banking products when they are considering options for them to go for loans and all that. And besides that, I would say everybody can do their little part in driving financial inclusion. So when we know something, we can spread the word. You know, word of mouth actually has an impact. Don't feel that, you know, just doing something on your own, on an individual capacity, can't have the impact.
Correct.
Because the thing is, you never know, you know, how many lives you can impact by inviting them to join in and empower themselves. Because knowledge is power, and education is the best way to address problems that Malaysia is facing, and in fact anywhere in the world. Education is definitely the greatest weapon anyone could have. Besides that, I could also say, go on to actually play your part in whatever capacity that you have to empower the community that you are living in and the community that you feel close to. So whether it's women, whether it's youth, whether it's people in the B40 or the served groups, people who really need help, just participate and support these community groups, and social finance is something to look at as well.
Because even the smallest actions can give the biggest impact that we never know, right?
Definitely.
And you mentioned earlier about education playing their vital role in helping the association's movement. So perhaps what can they do, the education systems play in the association strategy for promoting sustainability and also socio-economic growth, and at the same time, how do you ensure that these reach out to those undeserved communities?
Education, as I said, can do wonders. You know, in my previous life as an academic, I always believe that the education and the knowledge that the students get at school, at university or at school, it is not limited to the technical knowledge there. It is all about the skills. And today, I would say there are 3 critical skill sets that is really, really important that can make a change in anyone's lives. So that's, number 1 is language literacy, second one is digital literacy, and the third one is financial literacy. So essentially at Malaysian Association of Banks, what we do is we really push for the skill sets to grow. So through FinCo, the focus is to push for the language literacy as well as financial literacy. FinCo is the financial industry outreach, and it is a lot of different organizations joining hands towards the same goal. We also have a lot of efforts put together with other associations. As I mentioned earlier, there's IBIN, and there's also MIBA and ADFIM. And there's a lot of collaborations with Bank Negara and PayNet, as well as the other stakeholders, for example, PDRM, and we've got MCMC and telcos. So what we really do is we push for the importance of building up on the ability for the public and the customers to understand how to use the financial knowledge, how to seize the opportunities to make a better life, to actually build up on their capability to be more economically empowered and resilient. So essentially that is the power of education. Besides that, let me also speak about how economic empowerment also involves training programs for entrepreneurs. Now, the Malaysian SME scene is big, and the amount of GDP that's contributed by SMEs in Malaysia is just huge. And so therefore, training programs and education is really, really important to build up on the ability of the businesses and the small micro entrepreneurs as well to grow and to be able to scale up and seize the opportunities.
So looking forward, perhaps in a decade or 5 to 10 years to come, how do you plan to continue enriching lives and supporting sustainable development goals and make sure that it stays for the next generation? And at the same time, how do you also share how the association intends to support the Borneo communities in particular?
Okay, moving towards the future, ABM plans to keep working on the current focus and priorities. Specifically, it will be one, to drive industry resilience through ESG and technology, really to ensure that the industry remains sustainable and secure and future ready. Second is to champion digital and financial inclusion. Here is to foster broader adoption of digital banking tools and financial services, bridging gaps for the underserved groups, ensuring that accessibility is there. And the third is to enhance the collaboration. As I said, collaboration is key, right? So to enhance the ties and the working relationship with all the stakeholders, including the regulators, the businesses, the other stakeholders, and the public, to ensure that we are always aligned on ensuring the best practices, as well as the global and local challenges. Now, moving on to the next generation, I like to speak about the generation to come because these are the leaders of tomorrow. So with the new younger generation, ABM intends to push further with green financing and focusing on the low carbon economy because they are the champions of tomorrow for the green financing initiatives. Besides that, there's also the financial literacy programs. And then there's also, you know, pushing for more affordable housing and other areas in terms of sustainable finance so that we can help make a better life for them. Now with Borneo and with people in the rural communities, especially the ones marginalized and not having equal access, the job isn't done and is far from being done. So I would say the focus of ABM is definitely to keep working on that, keep our eyes on that goal, and scaling up with good programs and initiatives, collaborate with the local organizations because it really matters to have solutions and options for the people in the rural areas, the ones that actually are very on point with the real problems that they are facing. We can't expect solutions and options for them going to work you know, just the same if it's working elsewhere. What I really mean is like when we work with local counterparts and partners, we get to see what are the real problems and to be very effective with the solutions offered to them. Besides that, in Sarawak, for example, and Sabah, utilizing the digital platforms is very, very important because the states are huge, even in Pahang for that matter. So there are lots of people who wouldn't be able to even access agent banking, let alone proper bank branches, right? So what I would say is we have the technology and digital options there. All you need is access to the internet and perhaps a little bit of a gadget. Otherwise, how are they going to access it, right? And the knowledge on how to use it. So that will be a definite thing to push for social inclusivity. There are two more. No, that's one more. That's one more I do before I forget. ABM is stepping up further, moving forward, 2025 and further on, to be more visible and present and reachable, because we recognize the fact that a little bit of presence and impact can go a very long way. So we are going to go more proactive with our participations in programs such as industry outreach, community platforms, and different kind of engagements out there, so that we build on and we continue with this nation-building effort that the Association of Banks is committed to.
Wonderful. And that was Dr. Aminah Josrita Kaini, the Executive Director of ABM, the Association of Banks in Malaysia, and hope it's not too late to congratulate for all this 50 years journey and the continuous effort for another 50 years to come, hopefully, inshallah. And all the best for ABM as well to actually continue supporting and also helping those underserved communities, especially in balancing sustainability and socio-economic growth. So I would like to say thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with me on Niaga Awani, and all of our discussion can be found on all of our digital platforms, and that includes astroawani.com.